Okay. So, please get yourself ready for an awareness to movement lesson. Lie on your back. So as the week goes on and as next week rolls around, we'll find the timing in this group. Yep, we'll just get into the flow of a timing for a day, and it'll just take a while, but that's okay. So as you're lying there, pay attention to your contact with the floor and feel whether that contact varies with an in-breath and with an out-breath. And some of you settle very quickly on the floor, which means your breathing kind of becomes more shallow, less quick, and it makes it harder for you to feel the change in contact with the floor. That just means you have to be even more sharper with your attention. So I'll use this word intentionally, but I use it in a very specific way. As you relax more, in other words, as your body tonus, the tonus of your muscles drop, your attention needs to stay sharp. I'll say that again. As your muscle tonus lowers, as it drops, as you become a little bit more relaxed, your attention, your mental attention, has to stay sharp. It's not usually that way. Usually when our tonus drops, we want to go to sleep. Your task, Mr. Phelps, should you decide to accept it, is to keep your attention sharp, crisp, clear. And then to notice when it's becoming duller, and to then somehow just bring yourself back. For those of you who have done meditation practice, you recognize that cycle. So form the intention to roll yourself to sit. And when you form the intention, please do it. Come up to sit. Sit in that asymmetrical fashion with your right leg in front and your left leg behind. And place your right arm around the back of your head and take hold of some part of the left side of your face. If it's your chin, well and good. If it's your cheek, well and good. If it's your ear, well and good. If it's your temple, well and good. But you're going around the back of your head. Unless, of course, that is so terrible, it feels so terrible that you have to go over the top. So over the top is permissible, but only if you're in big trouble. Around the back, that's it. And now rest your left hand on the floor and take your elbow to the floor and come up a few times. Feel what that's like after a bit of a break. Ooh, everybody's going down. And the next time your elbow's to the floor, just stay there, as close to it as you can, and just for a moment, imagine that from this position, you are going to go around to the right to lie on your back. Don't do it, but just imagine that you would take your right elbow further and further around to the right until you end up lying on your back. Just imagine that. Think it, visualize it, see it in your mind's eye. And then come up again, and lie on your back, please. So this is a new orientation to do something that you already have done many times today, and that is slip your right arm behind your head and explore the left side of your face. Just do that for a while. And for the moment, arrange your legs however you'd like them to be. So if you find it's easy to do with your legs straight, leave them straight. If you find it's easy to do it with your legs bent, bend your legs. Bend one leg, bend two legs. Just explore introducing the hand behind your head and then taking it back out again. And if you want, you can use the left hand to assist your right arm at the elbow, to help somehow introduce your right hand to the left-hand side of your face. Now to get the elbow, the hand, the arm behind there, you're going to need to lift your head a little bit. And to lift your head, you might need to move your chest, you might need to move your rib cage, your back. Now wrap your arm around, your right arm around as far as it will go comfortably, easily, and stay there. Lengthen out the legs. And now start to move your legs to the left, as if you wanted to bring your left heel closer to your left buttock. And then return. Do that many, many times. So you move your legs around to the left, as if you wanted to bring that left heel closer to that left buttock. And the right arm is wrapped around your head. And as you make that movement, don't just be attracted to your legs. I know legs can be attractive, but think, what is your torso doing? How could your trunk, your torso move in a way that would assist your legs wrap around to the left? And release the idea that legs have to move together at the same time. So free yourself, liberate yourself from this notion that both legs have to go together. One leg can start and then the other leg can follow. They can separate. And perhaps if the knees went to the right as your feet went to the left, that might be a different idea. Ah. Yeah, so if your knees go, that's it. So your feet slide around to the left, but your knees end up pointing more to the right. And now lengthen out your legs. Stay with your arm wrapped around your head. And change your intention. Intend to roll your head a little bit more to your right. And then come back to the middle. Just that. Roll your head a little bit more to the right and come back to the middle. And then as you get the hang of that, increase the size of the rolling so that you roll your head and you also move your head a little bit more to the right, as if you're leading from the elbow. Now the process here is you're being directed about what your head is doing and what your elbow is doing, and your task is to remember the rest of yourself. So as the head rolls to the right and as you move more and more around to the right, what could the legs do? What could the torso do? What do you feel could happen inside yourself? And continue what you're doing with your head and your arm, and bring your attention to the tip of your elbow, the right elbow. Think that the tip of your elbow moves around in a semicircle around to your right, and that the elbow always stays close to the floor. And this is where you can begin to experiment. What would happen if I moved my torso this way? What would happen if I moved my legs that way? And if you keep on tracking your breathing so that it never stops, and if you keep on tracking your pelvis so that it never stops, you'll keep on finding new things. So the elbow going around in a semicircle around to the right and then returning to the middle. Taking care of yourself, looking for ease and comfort. And Continue for just a little bit longer and think, how could you use that left hand to assist, that left arm to assist? What would happen? What would happen if you thought of taking that left hand and making a big circle on the floor above your head so that it ends up on your right hand side? That's it. So it's a big sweep of the hand along the floor, along the floor. And if the elbow bends, that's fine. You can let the elbow bend. And then, how could you fold your legs to slide the elbow around further? Good. And the next time you're on your back, please stay there and rest. So in awareness through movement, there's a couple of different ways of working through things. One can be very cognitive. You could think, if I try this, this might work. If I try that, you could cognitively plan your way through. That's not a bad way of working. There's also another way of working, and that is to follow the sensations of your body. Keep looking for that direction of movement, that angle of moving yourself, that speed of moving yourself where you experience ease, effortlessness. So what you're really then doing is you're just simply following your sensations. And if you happen to feel, this direction's easy, you follow that direction. And you just keep following, and you keep following, and the lesson develops like that. So one's via experience and one's via thinking. When you can use both, that's a very powerful thing to be able to do. So extend your legs out and introduce your hand and your arm behind your head. Touch some part of the left side of your face. And now, place your left hand on the floor above your head. And pay attention to the relationship between your left hand and your right elbow. And now start to make a semicircle on the floor with your right elbow, and let your left hand follow. Let the left hand eavesdrop on what the right elbow is doing. It's like it wants to come along for the ride. It wants to go over there. And notice, how quickly does your pelvis start to move? As your right elbow and as your left hand sweep around to the right, think of rolling your pelvis in the same direction. That's right. And let the legs fold. It's tempting to want to try to use your legs to push against the floor. What would happen if you didn't? What would happen if you just let the pelvis roll and the legs fold? That's it. That's it. So you could intentionally bend the knees so that the heels came closer to your buttocks and let the legs fold. So it's not like the legs are passive. It's not like they're just two little ropes at the end of your pelvis, just being tugged along. No, you can actually involve your legs actively, but listening to what's needed. That's different. That's it. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And the closer you stay to the floor, the more safe you'll be, because there's nowhere to fall when you're close to the floor. And track the pelvis. Track the pelvis. Can the pelvis just keep on moving at every moment? The smoother the pelvis can move, the lighter the movement will become. Some of you might like to recall that experience of having your pelvis touched while moving your head and your arm. It's the same thing here. Contact your pelvis with your awareness. And see if it's possible to bring the left heel towards the left buttock and the sole of the right foot towards the left knee. And let that be, please, and rest. Please come up to sit in that asymmetrical fashion. Don't be in a hurry. Place your right arm around the back of your head. Touch some part of the left side of your face. And now place your left hand on the floor in front of you and start to bring the tip of your right elbow somewhere to the floor in front of your right knee. Now, how close in front or how far in front is up to you, but somewhere around that general area, around the front of your right knee. And after a few repetitions, you might start to get a good sense of where to put that left hand that it helps the most. Now the next time your elbow is down there, in front of your right knee, stay there. And move your elbow a little bit around to the right, and then return, and then a little bit around to the left, and then return, and just go back and forth like that. Right, left, just drawing a little arc on the floor or in space with the elbow. If you want to make it feel a little bit like a swing, you can. If you want to make it smooth and steady, you can. You can vary between the two. That's right. Don't force yourself. That's right. Just a little swing back and forth. And feel when you do that, can you feel how the pressure changes from one buttock to the other? Or if you're mainly on one buttock, to the outside of the buttock and then to the inside of the buttock? There's a relationship between the movement of the head and your pelvis. Now keep on paying attention to the movement of the pelvis, so that it's always moving, Doesn't matter which direction your elbow's going, the pelvis is always moving. And because the pelvis is moving, notice what's happening in your legs. Notice when you start to bear more weight over the right thigh, and then more over to the left. And if you wanted to take your elbow further around to the right, how would you need to move your legs? What would you do with them to enable you to go further around to the right? And just simply explore that idea, that the legs don't have to remain in the same shape. They just have to return to that shape when you come to the middle. Good, and let that be, please, and rest. For those of you who have had the privilege or the experience of listening to Moshe Feldenkrais teach a lesson on a videotape, you will have noticed something. Sometimes he gets really hooked up on people getting the movement. You know, finding that movement. No, not like this, no, like that. Like this, not like that. And sometimes he's I'll say it, he's harping at people to be more human. Don't treat yourself not human. So what I'm saying is acknowledging that there's always this balance going on in awareness through movement between being fully in the process of inquiring, sensing yourself, paying attention, having full self-respect for yourself, regard for yourself, and then dealing with the content of the movement. It's very easy to get overly enthusiastic about getting the movement, and you leave the process behind. Keep paying attention not to do that. So that you remind yourself, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I've left the process behind. Come on, let's get back into process. Finding ease, finding comfort, the breathing, the pelvis, appreciation for the self. Very important, very important. Because if you lay the groundwork now, later you don't have to worry about it. So lie on your back. Wrap your right arm around behind your head, hold the left side of your face, touch the left side of your face. And now just imagine yourself sitting how you were just sitting a moment ago, with the legs in that asymmetrical position, leaning with the left arm on the floor in front of you, with the elbow close to the ground. Can you recall that position? And begin to imagine, how could you sweep that right elbow around on the floor until you end up sitting in that position that you were just sitting in a moment ago? Don't do it, just simply imagine it. Because you're all able to sit and you're all able to lie, you just need to fill in the middle bit. And then think, how would the pelvis need to move in order to arrive in that sitting position? For some of you, when you sit in that asymmetrical position, it's mostly the right buttock on which you're sitting. So think, how would you arrive on that right buttock? And to arrive on the right buttock like that, what would you need to do with your legs? How would the legs need to change their shape until you're sitting in that asymmetrical position? And then for that left arm to be leaning on the floor in front of you, how big a circle on the floor would it need to make? Over around the top of your head, all the way around the right until it ends up in front. And then that very special relationship between the head and the pelvis, the one you explored in pairs. How would the head need to move around the moving pelvis until you ended up sitting in that asymmetrical position, the right elbow close to the floor, leaning on the left hand? And we're coming back to the things that we did right at the beginning. Your breathing. Can you imagine how your breathing would be so that you didn't need to stop? And all of this is happening as you're moving yourself around on the floor, across the floor to come up to sitting, and then across the floor to go back down to lying. It's a large movement parallel to the floor to come up to sit, but with the elbow down low, so you're not coming to sit all the way up. Now just a few times, do what you're able to imagine. Now don't come up all the way to sit. Remember, the elbow is close to the floor. Do what you can imagine. And maybe as you do what you're imagining, you start to feel other possibilities too. So go a little bit towards sitting and then return to your back. Reflect on what you just felt. Go, oh, maybe if I try this. And then go a little bit towards sitting and then come back onto your back until more and more you can do what it is that you're intending. That's nice. So sweep that left hand on the floor. As much as possible, keep the left hand along the floor. That's very nice. And you just keep it moving, you keep it moving, you keep it moving. Yes, if you need to lean on the hand, you lean on the hand. That's okay. You can lean on the hand temporarily to help you. But eventually the hand will just sweep around. Nice, nice. Now I'm starting to hear that hand across the carpet sound. Now that whoosh, whoosh. That's it.